Welcome to our preview of the 14,733rd Merseyside Derby. I'm Neil Atkinson. With me I've got Fuad, Hasan and Kev Walsh to talk about that game. But we can't talk about that game without touching on the game that Liverpool have just played against Paris Saint-Germain. And Kev, being really honest, there was a point at both 1-0 and 2-0 where I just thought to myself, don't get battered. That maintaining confidence was a thing, don't get battered. And in the end, Liverpool, don't they play quite well second half? They don't look that dangerous, but they keep the ball from the door.
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially when the second one went in, because it was a bit of a melee, wasn't it? It was a bit of a, how's that managed to sneak in there and how's he unmarked in the box? I thought, if we fall apart here, you could be the crumble of the season. But listen, people saying, seasons need a moment. That could be the moment where you say, okay, well, let's build from there, like our Tottenham one was last year. So the second half performance, I thought was, I've seen a lot of negativity about it, but I thought it was okay, but a lot more controlled and a lot more attacking, without ever having the teeth to score a goal, unfortunately.
My only worry about that second half performance, Fuad, is it was a little bit back to the pre-Watford clicking that we endlessly talk about at the minute. They look like things had clicked against Watford. There's 3, 4, 5 opportunities, arguably, in that second half against Paris, where Liverpool have got it in exactly the area where you think this is where we want it, and 3 passes later there should at least be a chance that leads to a save from a keeper, if not in the back of the net, and that didn't quite happen. So that's the only real concern I'm taking from the second half.
Yeah, I think that comes down to a bit of Paris's good defending, and the 3 centre-halves were brilliant, especially Marquinhos and Thiago Silva. I also think, it was interesting looking back at what the manager said after the game in his interview, and how he seemed quite frustrated with the lack of adaptability on the pitch by the Liverpool players. I think he was talking about there was clear spaces in between the lines which Liverpool should have exploited, and it took till half time for them to kind of understand that in the team talk. And coming out second half, Paris changed what they were doing and were a bit more comfortable sitting back to preserve the lead. So I think that's the first time you've seen that frustration with his players for not seeing it on the pitch and adapting without needing to have the instructions.
For what I think that one of the things that happens in the first half is that Paris Saint-Germain are a very good side who play right in the red, take a ton of chances, a lot of quick one-touch football, and they've got the quality to pull it off. It's fair to say that we won't come up against 5 sides as good as them this season, arguably. And it's interesting that it takes them to play in the red to do what they do to that Liverpool side. That's something to bear in mind, that not every side we face can do what they did.
Yeah, exactly. I think that there were a few times when you really saw our back four exposed, and I think that's because of how well they played through our midfield and made them completely non-existent, which is something we usually associate with our front three. How many times last season against Rome and Man City were we really breaking down those lines and leaving that back four completely exposed. So it is a credit to them. It's not going to come off every time for them. It was one of those games where all the little flicks and tricks were coming off. The ball was bouncing off our players into their path. It was everything was pretty much going that way. So, it is one of them, and we just got to move on, I think.
Is tired legs a worry? I think they put a lot into that in the end there, Liverpool, just to live with them and just to get a bridgehead in the game.
Yeah, but obviously one of the midfield's where you worry about tired legs, really, isn't it? So one of them's obviously Henderson, who's a easy break for Saturday anyway. Wijnaldum got taken off relatively handy, but he is a worry for me, Wijnaldum, because he's playing a lot of football and he's so all action when he is playing. That tired legs, it's eventually going to come to him, but the thing is, it's just Klopp to get that decision right when he brings players in and when he takes them out.
Well, he does Wijnaldum for Keita in that game, and I actually thought, listen to the 3 subs, it's hard to get the pace of a game like that. I thought that Sturridge and Shaqiri just couldn't really impact it, but I thought Keita did, and I think that there was something there that the manager can have a good think about.
Definitely, yeah. The thing with Keita for me is every time he gets the ball, his natural reaction, whether he's got his back to their goal or not, is to turn and to have a look, and everything. He wants everything to go forward. Now, sometimes that can be a little bit dangerous because if you lose the ball, obviously you're in worrying territory. But if you've got the right midfield behind him and he plays the role linking the attack, that's what we've been missing. We've been discussing on all the shows recently, haven't we? And I think if that's the position he puts himself into, and maybe does give himself a little bit less running to do at the back, that could be where he comes into the team and sort of settles down a little bit as a run of a few games where he does look like the player we thought he was going to be.
It is also worth remembering that it's clear the extent to which we were a scalp for Paris Saint-Germain. You get to see the chest bump, you get to see the reaction at the final whistle. Tuchel shakes Klopp's hands and screams at his backroom staff like we've nailed that. We were a scalp. It was a cup final for Paris Saint-Germain. Yeah,
exactly. Not just for their qualification. This is a big European side coming to their ground, and they've got a result after really being torn apart in a period of the game when they came to Anfield. So it is huge for them. It'll do them a lot of confidence. They now believe that they can qualify, and they're a team that very much everything is based around progression in the Champions League, given that their league is pretty much a given most season.
Indeed. We're going to get on and talk about Everton in a second, but before then, here's Johnny Milburn's insert, which is nowhere near as saucy as it sounds.
Probably my favourite away ground is probably Goodison Park. It's an awful ground. It's falling apart. There's no better place to win than seeing their faces, their contorted faces, frothing at the mouth when we've won. So yeah, definitely Goodison. My favourite goal is one that was lost in the annals of time for many, many years. But it was Jan Molby scoring an absolute blinder against Manchester United in the League Cup in 1985. I was there with my dad in the Kemlyn Road stand, and he just picked up the ball in his own half, did an amazing run, dribbled the length of the pitch and then slotted it past Gary Bailey, and the cot went absolutely bananas. Lots of brilliant Liverpool kits, but I think my favourite was the Crown Paints away kit. I think it was about 1985, 86-ish season. Absolutely gorgeous, and I got it as a kid and wore it all through the summer holidays. Absolutely loved it. My first match was Liverpool versus Dundalk. It was in September 1982. It was the second leg of the first round of the European Cup, and I think Liverpool were 3-1 up from the first leg. There were around 13,000 in attendance, so I think it was a game that wasn't particularly well attended, and Liverpool won 1-0, and Ronnie Whelan got the goal on the 81st minute. I was 8 years of age. Obviously there's lots of funny moments that happen at a match, but it's easy to forget. The one that gets talked about quite a lot amongst my group of friends is a couple of seasons ago we were playing Chelsea at home. It was a night game in the league. It was the game when David Luiz scored a wonderful free kick. We'd been out, we finished work early, we'd been out for a few beers in town, probably more beers than we needed. And as we approached the ground, one of my mates, Chris Maguire, decided he just wanted to have a quick whiskey, so we went into the 12th man, had a couple more rounds of Jameson's, which I didn't need. We got in the ground and Liverpool scored. It was the first half, and in celebrations and exuberance, I fell into the row in front. My mates fished me out, and we carried on. And there was a lady in the row in front with a mobile phone with WhatsApp messages on really, really big font. And so my brother could read that she said, somebody asked her the question, are you having a nice time? And the reply was, yes, apart from some big fat fellas just fell on your granddad. Lots and lots of players I love to hate. Virtually everyone who's worn the Everton shirt I've hated in some capacity. Similar in Manchester United. I think growing up I hated Brian Robson, probably because he was good. Hated Eric Cantona, probably for similar reasons. The number of times they won games 1-0 with Cantona in the 90s used to drive me to distraction. So yeah, I'd probably say Eric Cantona is probably the player I love to hate, and I've got a lot of respect for him now. Actually, now he's no longer a threat to me, but at the time he was playing, he was an absolute fucking menace. Pre-match pint routine is not absolutely fixed. We change it up quite a lot. We sometimes go to the Lions Tavern in town, which is a good booze, a decent pint, get a nice pork pie in there. We sometimes meet in a social club just near the ground, the All Saints Social Club. Got a group of friends that meet there, but more often than not these days we've been going to Hotel Tier actually. Good meeting points, sort tickets out. Decent beer garden in the summer.
Thanks to Johnny for that. I mentioned Kev before talking to Fuad. I said it was Paris Saint-Germain's cup final. I can't quite therefore come up with the galactic word for what Sunday is for Everton. It is, imagine what this means for them, and also in a context where they can think, you know what, a draw hurts them almost as much as a defeat. Yeah, well, plus as well, obviously they've had the win that was yesterday, us not winning, haven't they? So they'll be all buoyed by confidence. Marco and the lads all going in, throwing high fives, singing Thomas Tuchel's name and all that as they go. So, but that's the thing for them on Sunday is, oh yeah, we don't need to win. We just need to stop them from winning, which is fine. Listen, they come to Anfield how many times over the last 20 years, and they haven't got a thing out of it. I was listening to the Blue Room podcast about it the other day because I am a little bit obsessed with Everton because I hate them so much, and I'm really happy to admit that. We call them the bitters, and I'm just as bad as them. But they were going on about the best moments they've had at Anfield in the last 20 years.
And two of them both mentioned Jermaine Beckford's goal. And I was like, who's Jermaine Beckford? I couldn't even picture the fella who'd scored, never mind the goal he scored. And it was in a game where he'd only got a draw against us. So yeah, I'm not overly worried.
But I think that's, you know, it is 20 years Fuad, where that is, you know, since 1999 they haven't won at Anfield. And firstly, I'll come on to a law of averages thing, that at some point every side gets an opportunity to win that sort of game. But more than that, I think it is, you know, it is worth remembering, and as much as we can decide we're going to laugh at this. You know, the Blue Room, they're all, you know, mostly perfectly sound lads and girls, but they're sort of going to themselves. They've not seen Everton do this for 20 years. So that's what it means, but that's also the scale of the challenge as they must think of it.
Yeah, exactly, and I think there's added spice to it if it needed any more, with us being in the position we are in the league, and they could see this if they get a result as derailing our title challenge, and I'm sure they'll be going on about it if they do. So yeah, there is that to it, and you know, like you're saying with the law of averages, they will eventually get a result. Let's just hope it's not this season where we're in such a tight wire with results and needing to keep pace. So, you know, that's the issue with it with me. You want to treat it like its own occasion completely, but at the end of the day, the 3 points are so much more important for other things as well. I think
the long run into this actually hurts them a little bit, Kev. I think that, you know, they get a week to prepare, but I think that's a week where they're thinking about the fact how much this game actually means. You know, straight away, pretty much you get the impression, as soon as the final whistle went against Cardiff, they're all looking at each other going, what about next Sunday? And you suspect that's the case internally as well. You know, I don't think that's just an external thing. It might have suited Silva better, it being his first visit to Anfield, for it to be a midweek, a Tuesday, when they've had a game on the Saturday. There's no time to think, just get out there and go and do it, because they've been playing all right.
Yeah, listen, they've got they're in sixth, aren't they? And they probably deserve to be there. But I'd say that nervous energy hasn't done them any favours in the last 20 years, so I don't understand why it'd be any different this time. A week to prepare, if you give Klopp that, you think, oh yeah, that's fantastic, that's just what he needs. Whereas with them, as you say, you think they sort of psych themselves out. Now, the fans are definitely doing it. Some of the ridiculous stuff you've seen on Twitter and over the last couple of days, it's bananas. You can see that they're frothing at their mouths for just talking to themselves, never mind when they get to Anfield on Sunday. So the one thing they've got in their favour, I would say, is they've got a lot of players who've come in the last, 12 to 18 months, who probably haven't played at Anfield before, but have played another big game. So that works in their favour, where they can say, well, yeah, the atmosphere won't bother me, but we've seen what happens with that in European nights. But it just depends whether we, as the crowd, get Anfield up to the level it should be at.
A little look then at Everton, what they've been doing so far this season, and how they may well look to line up against the Reds. It's me, by the way, right now. The Ev turn up to Anfield in decent enough form. They've found themselves playing quite well recently, and they've got themselves settled. Key men are in the middle of the park. Idrissa Gueye is currently showing his best form for the Blues, and Andre Gomez has been a bit of a revelation for them since he's got himself into that side. He looks a very classy midfielder first and foremost, capable of everything and wanting the ball all the time. They'll be looking to get him on it, to get them up the pitch, to carry it past one or two Liverpool players. This is the little key area then in amongst here. I've set Liverpool up 4-2-3-1, as that's what I think Klopp will go for. Not 100% on quite literally who will be there in this sort of area, or even back here. I think there's a fair chance that Trent starts and Gomez goes back into centre half. In attack, I think it will, in all likelihood, be the front three, as you'd expect, with Shaqiri off the right. There may be a move that Sturridge plays in place of Firmino and finds himself through there, but we'll see when the selection comes in. But this is Everton's headache. Sigurdsson's been doing a lot of very good work coming right the way up the pitch here, trying to get in front of Liverpool's players. Gomez has been carrying the ball very, very well. But just in the act of doing that, what are we left with? We're left with Liverpool being 4-on-5 against this Everton side. And whilst Idrissa Gueye is a good player, there's a lot of work for him to get through there. And if it is Zuma and Mina here, the Reds will be thinking to themselves, well, these lads aren't necessarily great at turning round. Digne wants to push up, Coleman wants to push up, and Liverpool may well find themselves in a situation that if they can get Everton to actually play a little bit, they may find it relatively straightforward to turn them round and worry them. The flip side of that, though, is that you look at the way we played against Watford, we kept the ball away from them, a lot of sideways movement, left to right. We could go down that route against this Everton side. But there's something Everton could do as well. Kurt Zouma's been really good for them at centre-half, and it wouldn't be that unlikely, not least off the back of what we've just seen against Paris Saint-Germain, to see Everton do something that goes a little bit more like this. Not play Bernard, play Sigurdsson off the left, but where he's got a little bit more licence, and it's not the idea of being overrun here. Walcott off the right, and then they've got Lookman and Bernard off the bench to make the change. Richarlison up top to try to occupy the centre-backs. It wouldn't surprise me to see Everton think about that. Think about Mina there, Keane there, and Zouma there, and then look to allow Digne and Coleman to push up and do a little bit of bits and pieces. You'll be thinking about that Marco Silva. You'll be wondering whether or not it would lead to him perhaps getting overrun in the middle of the park then. it's not an easy one for Silva, it's not an easy one for Liverpool. It's a proper game where a bit of blanket theory comes into play. There's every chance that what's been passing for Everton's strengths could actually become weaknesses against this Liverpool side, but we can't be complacent about it at all. Liverpool were really disciplined against Watford, against a good side with a good midfield too in Capoue and Doucouré. They should be as respectful, I would say, of Everton's two, of Gomez and Idrissa Gueye, as they were of Capoue and Doucouré. It might mean to a bit of a frustrating game at times. Liverpool may well prove that they have to be patient, but that might well be their best way home against Marco Silva's Everton. I've took my jumper off, back with Fuad and Kev Walsh to talk about how we should line up against Everton. No Henderson, it's done, it's not a conversation, you know, he's suspended for this one, daft, but we are where we are. Given that there's no Henderson, Fuad, I would have thought he might want to have Milner on the pitch, but I think it's hard to see a home for Milner in the 4-2-3-1. He's got a little bit of a question mark there.
Yeah, that's the big issue. I think if you're playing Shaqiri, then you'll definitely be going for that 4-2-3-1, and I'd really like him to, because I think this is the sort of game which Shaqiri would definitely grab by the scruff of the neck and really be up for. You've heard from his comments earlier on in the week about it. But Milner, I would want him on the pitch just purely because without Henderson, you miss a little bit of that, just that nous in that area in terms of being intelligent and game aware of these sort of big derby occasions. If you have Fabinho in there, it's a new occasion for him. I don't think he quite knows what it's about in terms of the atmosphere, the intensity of the game. So it is a big question mark, and you know, the flat three will worry me a bit, but you know, we'll see what he does.
I mean, he may, last season, it's worth remembering, Kev, he rested Firmino for Solanke, so he may have a bit of a surprise in there. He may go with pick Shaqiri and pick two of the front three and go 4-3-3 that way and drop someone in. Is that what you think he's going to do?
If there is to be a change, I think that's what it'll be. And I think Shaqiri, I think he will get the start, because I think he can feel very hard done to not to have got it in Paris. So I think, look at the front three. The only one who looks tired, or I don't know whether it's tiredness or whether he's just not in form, is Firmino, and that's not a natural swap for Shaqiri. So I think you probably see Firmino left in there, and it wouldn't surprise me to see Mane get a little break, because I think him and Shaqiri are the most interchangeable out of all the ones that we've got. So if you take one out and leave the other in, one out and put the other one in, sorry, I think that works. And obviously, if you've got Mane to come off the bench, if there is any sort of break glass moments, he's a perfect player to have in there. With Milner, I'd 100, no matter what it took, I'd get him on the pitch, because games like this, you need a level head, but you need someone with the experience of playing in massive games where he can make the decision to say to, right, relax now, or right now it's time to ramp it up on them and put the pressure on them, put the foot on the throat when they're down. And I think he's the one of our midfield who can do that. Wijnaldum next to him to do the running for him if necessary. I'd be happy with them two in there. I'm not too worried about them in a 4-3-3, to be fair.
Would you have Keita in there?
I'd have Keita in there if we're having Shaqiri up front.
Yeah.
But if we're having a front three, I'd have Shaqiri there.
So you go, if it's the front three, you're happy to have Shaqiri go 4-2-3-1 or whatever, but if it's 4-3-3 and one of the front three or Shaqiri steps out, you'd have Keita in centre mid.
Yeah, for me, 4-2-3-1 is our issue. I think I know it's a minor technical switch, but it should be 4-2-1-3.
Yeah.
So that man is feeding into the front three, because I think that's some of our issue at the moment has been we haven't been getting around players quick enough. But against Everton Sunday, I think you can maybe see them sitting in a little bit, so you need to get them as far up the pitch as you can.
Is there in there? I'd like to see Keita start. No one's mentioning Fabinho here. Neither of you have mentioned Fabinho. Well, you did briefly to say you'd worry about it, the sort of the pace of it and the occasion of it. He's got to play sometime, Fuad. You know, because you can sit around and I can sit there and I can go, yeah, but Burnley away doesn't feel great when he's suddenly got Chris Wood, got him in a headlock for no reason.
Your mate Chris Wood.
Yeah, and then the next one, it's Bournemouth away, and we've seen the speed that they play at. That Ozil doesn't get picked by Arsenal when they go there. For me, I'm almost like I would be tempted if I was Klopp just to say, you know what, let's just lash him in, because he's got to play at some point soon in a fast game again.
Yeah, I think if you are putting him in there, then it's about having that two, and whether it's Gini or Milner, I think would be okay. The main worry is it is not just the intensity, it's the occasion. I think in terms of how big this game is, how up for it Everton will be, and how they'll be flying in. I don't know if he's quite up to speed with that. You thought, you know, he has been kind of in the sidelines, being kind of readied for these sort of games and getting to speed with what Klopp wants from him. So there is an argument for it, but I think just to be safe and to give that front three a bit more freedom, it'd be.
Would you both be really surprised if he went Fabinho, Keita, Shaqiri, Firmino, Salah, Mane? Would you be really surprised if he just went Fabinho, Keita?
That's a big. I think that's a big jump, that, because they've not played any minutes together, and to go into. I know we've got all cup finals this season, but to me the biggest game of the season is Everton. We need to, and plus it's not just about the derby now. It is literally we need the 3 points for the league title challenge. So put one of them in there, put Kite in it. But listen, there's an argument for putting Fabinho in there because Sigurdsson in the form of his life would be the player who you'd say, well, Fabinho goes in there and he probably nullifies that threat, and Gomez slightly behind him there. Maybe when they've got the ball, Fabinho can push on too. So there is an argument to be made for that to happen, but to put the two of them in there and risk, because if neither of them are in a great form at the moment, they haven't played really well. So to put them both in there and say, and if both of them have a nightmare, you're not going to win. And it's vital that we do.
Full-back / centre-back, I'd be stunned if Andy Robertson doesn't start. Left-back, be stunned if Van Dijk doesn't start. He's got himself into a situation, Kev, where he's 2 from 3 as far as Lovren, Trent and Gomez are concerned. Who are you expecting for this?
You'd imagine Trent will play full-back, which would then put Gomez in the middle, I think. And that's our best centre. That's our best. It's a bit the best back four that we've got, I think. Lovren is coming in, he looks okay when he comes in, he looks like an able deputy, but some of the issues that Lovren causes when he is in there, or not causes, that, it's unfair on him now, but some of the issues we have is that he'll get the ball in a position where Gomez would have it, and he'd still be able to pick a pass, and Lovren struggles, or there's a slight delay in it, and that slight delay at top level football can kill you, so I'd definitely have Gomez and Van Dijk at centre half.
Yeah, exactly, I completely agree with that, and I think, you know, with Gomez at right back, you lose a little bit of that attacking ability. What you do see is Robertson being pushed up a bit more, further up the pitch, and you know, Trent, local lad, this is the sort of game where you really want him in and playing, and he'll be completely up for it. He scored 2 goals. I think he will feel like he's full of confidence going into it.
Where I think we do well in this, Fuad, is in these games is where I think we're better than Everton at treating it like just another game, but with a slightly higher notch of intensity. And I think that's, you know, we showed Watford a lot of respect. I think we showed, you know, when you now look back on that 90 minutes, Watford gets shown a huge amount of respect by this Liverpool side. Do you think that that's, you know, almost what we'll be looking to do here as well? Everton are 6th. They're 6th for a reason. They're a good side. It's not just go out there and absolutely blitz them in the first 15. I think we're going to see Liverpool maybe be a bit more patient than maybe the crowd might even like at times. I don't know what you think.
I'd completely agree with that. I don't think it's like the derbies we've had at home in the last few years where Everton have been really poor and it's been all up to us. They are going to offer something. I think the manager knows that, and us as fans should accept that as well, because they are a better team. And yeah, no, definitely. I think it's more a game where you want us to be patient and control it rather than just go for full kind of all-out attacking football where, you know, you do leave yourself a bit open, and given the league situation, you don't want to be losing any points from stupid things and things like that.
I think it suits us almost to let them think there's something in the game for them. Kev, I think that as soon as you begin to think about a few of these lads turning around where they haven't always looked great, Sigurdsson you mentioned before, Yerry graft, but you can leave them light in the middle. You know, you're not quite sure yet what Bernard's going to do for them if he's got to drop in. The 2 fullbacks want to attack. That's their natural instinct. I almost think there might be a bit of a case for a little bit of a Liverpool rope-a-dope here. Get them up the pitch and then bang.
Yeah, it's one way to go about it, but I think if we do go for that type of game plan, we run the risk of them actually getting a goal. And if they get a goal and then chip back in, we've seen to that status so far, haven't we? I think that we showed Watford a lot of respect, and rightfully so, 'cause they're a good football team, but they were playing at home. Yeah. And everyone knew what was going to happen. We knew the first half we were going to have to earn your right to play football type of thing. Whereas at Anfield, you're not going to have to do that. If you get dragged into a little bit of a war of attrition with them, that's very much playing into their hands, I think. I think what I prefer is go out, you don't have to, like, it doesn't have to be blitzkrieg.
It doesn't have to be responsible.
Yeah, but by the same token, I'd be going all out to get a goal as early as I possibly can. Because 1 goal for us, I think that just kills their game plan. Their game plan's got to be get to 70 at 0-0 and see what we can do then. Because if I'd be very surprised if they come out and go, okay, let's have a little 15-minute goal of attacking in the first half. If they get to 0-0 at half time, I think they'll be delighted with that. And that'll work in their favour. They can get in there, they can hunker down, and maybe come up with a little tactical plan to get at whatever they've spotted. Because listen, Silva's a good manager. If we go out and get the goal early, I think that just puts that all to bed for them. And if we get 1, I can see us getting 4 or 5.
Prediction?
5-0.
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Prediction?
1-0 Van Dijk.
1-0 Van Dijk.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I like both outcomes. Both outcomes will be a lovely Sunday afternoon / evening. It's going to be fantastic. A Merseyside Derby in December. It's going to be the business. A Liverpool win will absolutely, well, it'll ensure that we stay in touch with Manchester City, but it'll mean that the City remains as red as ever. Let's see how we go.